So I've moved on. I've been doing little stuff this morning, but now is a big step in getting this evaporator mounted. So I'm just going to go through a little bit of this with you guys. I'm not going to bore you with all the little details, but I will hit the highlights with you as I go. So these kits, and let me tell you, if you want to save 500 bucks and go buy a universal kit, you're going to spend $500 worth of your time trying to make that stuff work. Mopar Joe just did a video on a universal kit for his, I think it's a 65 Coronet, and I watch every single one of his videos because I'm trying to be up on the whole Mopar scene, and I learn a great deal from him and Dead Dodge Jamie. I just love to learn. But I saw Joe struggling getting this thing mounted to the Firewall, and because it's a universal fit. I mean, I get it. He did a great job, but it kind of I guess confirmed my thought process on saving $500 when I buy a kit that's specific to the car. It's I'm not saying I'm not going to struggle. I'm just saying that save yourself the headache. In my opinion, of course, this is not you guys do you and I'll do me. But this is probably the fifth one of these vintage air systems that I've installed. First for a charger, but I've installed several, we'll say. But they're really good kits, and the fit and finish is second to none. All the parts are right most of the time. Directions are spot on. But anyway, I'm not sponsored by them. I just have experience in installing these. So anyway, take it for what it's worth. All right, here we go. So before we put this bracket, sorry, wrong bracket. Yeah, no, that's the right one. So this bracket goes to the Firewall. And you can see how it's contoured in the back there. The hardware is already in. And see these little 1/4-inch bolts just pop out before I put this bracket on, which is really nice and powder coated. I have to install the heater hose stubs. So what these are is that they screw on here. They have a little O-ring, which is neat, and you basically just put these guys on after you lubricate the O-ring. One-handed. Jeez, this cat has been quiet all morning. The second I start filming or talking on the phone, he just starts yelling. So, okay. So that's how they're going to go. And believe it or not, this system gets charged with nitrogen, or I'm sorry, it gets charged with nitrogen at the factory, which is really kind of cool. And when you take these caps off, you hear it come out. I've already taken this one off here, obviously, so it's not going to come out, but I'm going to get this guy off. Yeah, all these caps and plugs are really handy to have around. I keep all this stuff. Well, not all of it, but I keep most of it just to plug things. It's got a nice little plug in there. If you were to have to buy this stuff, it would cost a mint. So I always keep a good amount of it just to have while I'm building stuff. Keeps debris out of places it doesn't need to be in. Okay, anytime. There we go. Yeah, so look how cool these things are. Good to have around, I think. So, and see how these things come sealed? That's pretty cool. They don't want anything to get contaminated. I mean, this is going to get coolant in here, so it's not super critical, but they take the time to keep all these parts super clean, which is impressive in my book. So let me get this thing off. Yeah, these things are pretty handy to have around too. So, and then a lot of times they'll say add an O-ring in the directions, where you'll find that they actually have already put the O-ring on. But what you have to do is add some vegetable oil to the O-rings to get them lubricated properly so they don't tear mostly. So I'm trying to do two things at once here. So it's just a little, you don't need to put a bunch on there. And so it fits in right there. Goes right in. And run that guy on. It's important that you put a wrench on this guy. Do not try to tighten this without holding this guy. It will break inside here and you'll have a bad day. So don't do that. So always support this side when you're tightening this. And these are basically just stubs that will go through this bracket. See? Pretty cool, huh? Yeah, so they make it nice and easy for the most part. But I just wanted to share that detail. So, as I'm tightening these guys, I push in on the O-ring and kind of twist just to make sure that O-ring is seated, and then I'll tighten that up. And I forgot to mention, this is obviously copper and brass, so this would crack if you just cranked on these. So just do yourself a favor and don't. But I do like to back them off a little bit and then push in on the stub and rotate it, and that O-ring is obviously lubricated and it's going to keep it from tearing. Same thing with like fuel injection injectors. You want to lubricate those O-rings as well, so same concept. This is your one and only chance to tighten these. So alright. This is mineral oil. I said vegetable oil. It's actually mineral oil. I suppose you could use vegetable oil in a pinch. I won't tell if you don't. And you don't want to have any exposed brass or sorry, copper on the refrigerant side, because it'll sweat, as we've all seen that little puddle underneath your car when you come to a stop and sit there for a minute at a light or in a parking spot. That's condensation. So that's why this press tape is on there. It prevents that from occurring inside your car. And this kit comes with some, actually quite a bit of it, so you'll have extra. Fasteners, check this out. This is pretty cool. Fasteners have knurling under the flange to keep them from coming loose. Just little details like that really make this install and living with this system really nice. I would love to be sponsored by these guys. Vintager, holler. Yeah, so the reason I'm not going to actually install the entire kit, but what I'm doing here is getting this evaporator installed temporarily in the car because I want to find a place for my MSD 6AL, which is my a CDI box, and I just don't know where it's going to go. And so once I have this mocked in, I'll be able to kind of make a place for it with the dash shell installed as well, because the whole dash is it's a portable unit. You build it on the bench just kind of like this, and then you set it in the car. So basically the dash will probably be one of the last things to go in, but I'm gonna have to put the dash in with this in so I understand where everything kind of lives, and then I'll have to take it all back apart because I have to have this goes on the Firewall kind of like that. So this is the passenger side where the so the car was an air conditioning car originally, and it had a blower motor. There's a big hole cut out for a blower motor on the firewall, and so this covers up that, and it also covers up the square cutout for the I believe it's a voltage regulator, and I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. It's fine, but I want to have this powder coated in the color of the car so it's less noticeable. I'm not trying to fool anybody, but this would be awful in all black on that beautiful firewall. So excuse me, I'm going to do this in the car color, so hopefully I can find a nice match. Alright, give me a sec here and get resituated. Alright, so this is the front of the evaporator. This is what's facing the passenger. So this gets a bracket like this. Alright, the controls plug in here. Pretty cool. Really nice. Let's see here. Alright, so my least favorite part of this whole installation for the air conditioning evaporator is there's a flange right here. Nice painted flange. So I've taped it up around there, but I have to flatten that flange out so that plate sits flat. Sorry. So yeah, that's my prep for it. So wish me luck. Here goes nothing. Again with the band file. So I gotta be honest here, I wish this wasn't a permanent modification. This car, you know, I've really tried hard at selecting components that didn't, or I guess that weren't permanent. You know, subframe connectors, yeah, I guess you could say that's permanent, you know, but they could be removed with some effort. But this flange right here is permanent, so I doubt that's gonna hinder the sale of it in the future. But yeah, I'm sentimental, what can I say? But I think it went well. Alright, I want to show you guys where we're at with the accessory drives. Last time I had it all set up without the air sand and compressor, and it all seemed great. And what do you know, the vintage air system came with bracketry, obviously for the sand and air conditioning compressor, but also they changed the alternator bracketry. So the two kits, well, I bought a power steering kit and a alternator kit from Mancini, had it all fit up great, and then Vintage Air comes in with their different set, so we had to totally change pretty much everything. So everything got stripped back off and basically had to start over because all the different bracketry that the air conditioning system just does. So frankly, it's not a bad deal. I mean, obviously you saw us having to trim back this head a little bit, which hurt me inside a little, but I don't know, I think it came out fine. Let's see here. See where it chamfered in there. I think it came out fine. And all this stuff is it's just mocked in, and then we're actually missing a bracket right here, or here. So this is actually, you know, Richard's actually learning a ton by doing this. I actually had him start it last week, and we worked through the week, and then his week ended here, and I just didn't touch it. It was killing me, but I'm like, no, he needs to learn, and so he got it in. He was pretty frustrated with it, but I mean, anybody that's ever put these things together, it's just like Legos, really. But there are fixed components that you can build from, like the crank pulley and the water pump pulley is what I always build from, and make sure everything's in plane with those within reason, or as close as you can, and hope for the best. But nobody likes to throw a belt or have to pull over because you're overheating because your belt flew off, and or you lose your alternator when the belt's just gone. All that sucks. But I wanted to stay true with the V-belts instead of going serpentine, and who could afford one of those serpentine kits anyway? And they don't even look natural to me. So but I'm sure they're better, less drag anyway. But yeah, and I've come to the realization that I can't run this intake manifold, so yeah. Anyway, trying to find the right one, but yeah. Anybody looking for a big air gap for a 440? Let me know. Anyway, working on getting the air conditioning set up. We did that little shaving today, which also hurt me inside, but I'm ready to mock up that panel and mount the evaporator inside the car. Probably in the next clip here. Alright, so the instructions say there's supposed to be a hole right here that I'm supposed to make 3/8, and there's no hole there. This is an AC car, and I'm guessing that their diagram showed maybe a non-AC car that had maybe more holes. I don't know. I would have guessed less holes, but anyway, so after I ground that flat, I realized there's actually dimpled holes on this firewall that, and even just regular holes that are just kind of pushed out this way. So I don't need to go any further. I wanted to go fully flat, but I don't think it really matters, and I didn't want to take more paint off than I need to. So I can easily touch that up right before I silicone this panel and put it back on. So, but I have to test fit it. And I should be more careful in taping everything, but taping turns out pulls paint off sometimes, so gotta improvise and just be careful. And so I'm not only just mocking this up, brake line there, but I'm trying to find that hole that that I'm supposed to hog out to 3/8. So I'm gonna line these up. What's there? Hopefully you guys can see that. It's mostly, they're all there, so I'm guessing it's this one that needs to get to 3/8, which is probably the one right directly next to this, but I really just, it fits nice though. It does fit flat. I'm supposed to put a bead of silicone around the whole perimeter of it when I go to put it on after it's powder coated. But I want to powder coat it to this paint color so it lasts a good long time, and you know. And I think that's right there. That'll at least tell me where it is, so. But yeah, that's cool. Just wanted to show you guys this little detail since I have to stare at it as long as I own the car. It's worth it though. You know, air conditioning is, yeah, it's expensive, but man, it makes you enjoy your car that much more, especially in the summer. It's tomorrow, and of course I hit a snag yesterday putting the I guess the bulkhead holes through the firewall for the air conditioning system. Two are for air conditioning lines, the other two are for the heater lines. And I do have that plate in the one that I need to have powder coated. It's in place where it's going to go, just so I know it fits. And here is where the lines pass through. I did have it hit a snag, of course, and this guy right here, as you can see, it's still there, because my US car tool inner fender support was basically plate weld like right here, behind here. So I have to go in there and surgically remove that. So I'll show you on the other side here. All right, so here's the other side of that mess, and you can see the issue. So you kind of see where it came into contact with that plate. So no big deal. I'm just gonna have to notch it out so that fitting will go through there and not rub on anything. But see what I mean? It's just bolting stuff together. You know, it's not as easy as everyone thinks it is. So yay for me. All right, I gotta get working here. All right, so here's the issue, front and center. I did run a unibit through this just to make this sheet metal easy to remove, but that's not the biggest problem. So there are grommets that fit in these holes, and I actually made them one size smaller. So they're supposed to be 1¼ inch. I made them 1 1/8, only because I didn't have an 1¼ inch hole saw. But hear me out. I'm gonna fine tune these holes with my carbide bit, and a lot of times the grommets have a little bit of play in them anyway, so I'm gonna fit each one of them individually. But the biggest problem here is obviously this guy, and you gotta remember there's going to be a fitting, or I'm sorry, hard line coming through this, or it might be soft line actually, I can't remember, but either way there has to be a takeoff here into this plate. So I've devised a plan that I think will work by putting a hole saw through this. I see my mark there, it's a little bit crude, halfway freehanded, but this half is actually from a hole saw, the one I used. So my idea is to basically put a hole saw like that away from the firewall, so not to screw up the firewall paint. But my idea is to go in straight, probably just below this X marks the spot with the pilot hole, and then take the hole saw and go through that, which would leave me a U-shaped hole after I've cleaned it up a little. And I think that'll give me enough clearance to run that line through there. Like I said, I'm not sure if it's hard line. I believe it is a refrigerant line, which would be thick rubber, but a grommet has to fit in this, and so this weld actually has to be removed. I'm going to try to do it as carefully as I can, so wish me luck. Should be interesting. So just to pre-run it a little, it's going to be right there. Carbide bit. Be right back. Alright, so I'm going to go in the car and make sure I'm not going too far on that hole. These are really kind of deceiving. They, I usually try to shoot for this diameter, and I mean, never mind the dimension or the dimension on the hole saw. They tell you 1.25 inches. But if it fits, if this little raised step fits, it's probably time to fit it in there. You don't want to go too far. There's a really deep step in these things. So let me see if I can get the other three on. I know this one's probably not ready yet, but let me see if I can get the other three in. Yeah, they're kind of hard to get started too, but they do have a really deep step on them, which is kind of cool. They're pretty easy to put in. But the floor insulation will bind you up a little, so you gotta go on the other side and massage it a little. So far, it's looking pretty good. Kind of go around the whole diameter, just kind of seat it, because there's a lot of suspension movement inside these things, which is really cool, because that's, you want it to be able to flex a little. All right, let's see how bad this one is, or if I can even get it in. I've learned my lesson. Never want to pull away. You want to just kind of fold it over itself. Ask me how I know. Yeah, so let me show you. These guys they're deceiving, because they look like they're going to be super big. So pay attention to this step right here in comparison to the center step. See how this is kind of hard to show, but yeah, so if you look straight down it, there you go. See how big that step is in comparison to this. I'm sorry, see how big the groove is compared to the step? So the groove, or the step, is actually bigger. Alright, sorry, I've been bad about videoing this week. Aside from the heat misery, I'm having parts misery as well. So I was dead set on using an original radiator that I got with my car. It was full of walnuts and squirrel stuff. I'm pretty sure squirrels were living in it, but I had it re-cored, and they took all the brackets off and re-cored it with a 4-core core, I guess. I've never done that. That's such an old school art thing. Everybody just buys new radiators, but I'm trying to, as you know, I'm trying to use as much original stuff as I possibly can within reason. I'm not trying to be all OEM, you know, that's not this build. And God help me if I ever do that. It's going to be too much. I'm not sure I ever will. But I wanted to preserve as much originality with the car as possible. So this radiator is not original to this car, but it has the numbers. It's a 26-inch radiator. See the Chrysler Pentastar there? And it says all this fun, use Chrysler rust resistor, use Chrysler antifreeze on it. So that's pretty cool. But so yeah, they actually took this top cap off, they unsolder it, and this dude, the dude that did this had a beard like down to his waist. Like, this guy's old school. It's a place called Harbor Radiator in Costa Mesa, California. It's on Harbor Boulevard, and their slogan is a great place to take a leak. Awesome, right? I've driven by it my entire life, never used it. I mean, I buy a new radiator if I get I mean, modern radiators are just aluminum and plastic anyways. You just throw it away and get a new one. So I finally had a chance to use them, and they did a pretty good job. They don't restore radiators, and what I should have done is gone and picked these brackets up and blasted them and then brought them back. That's probably what I would have done if I was doing someone else's car. Now I know, but they removed the bottom tank, also the brackets, and they basically, this is all brand new. This is a brand new core. I don't know how they did it, but they did. So it looks rad, looks really nice. This radiator's in really good shape, and it's drying right now, otherwise I'd flip it over. I'll show it to you guys in a little bit, but I've also made a big step today. I've never, like I'm sure you guys have heard me say, I've never painted anything that came out good, especially with a paint gun, and I finally mustered up the courage to shoot my headlight buckets for the Charger. And I have painted these things 3 times, and the first time the paint didn't dry, the second time, I don't know what happened, it just totally, I'm sorry, the first time it totally rejected the paint and it wrinkled up on me. The second time the paint didn't dry, and this is the 3rd time. And luckily, once you build up the paint, it's easier to spray. Like I don't know, it kind of knows adhesion or whatever. But I did buy this stuff that I've never heard of, and my buddy Rod, who painted the car, turned me on to it. Oh, sorry, wrong cabinet. But this stuff is Bulldog Adhesion Promoter. I've never heard of this in my life. I bought it. It's a clean strip product. Seems pretty good, but I sprayed that on before I started shooting color, and it worked. There's a little bit of wrinkle on one of the pieces, but I think overall it came out really good for me being a total novice rookie painter. And I'm not good, and I don't have good stuff, but I'm pretty proud of this. So I've got 1 coat of clear on these. It's kind of hard to see, and now I know that all the Chrysler experts are going to say that's too shiny. That's fine, and this is the silver I chose. In fact, it was given to me. I didn't choose it, but yeah, it's got a little bit of orange peel, but it's only got 1 coat of clear on it. But overall, I think they came out pretty good. It's the front of the car. I wanted it to be good. And if it doesn't come out, I'll just bring it to my buddy Rod. I'm going to go out there first weekend of October. So if this totally fails and it's ruined for some reason, I always have that to fall back on. But that's where we're at with that. And I am currently, as you guys saw in the last clip, installing the provisions for the air conditioning system, the hot water, and the refrigerant bulkhead pass-throughs are right there. I got the carpet out, relaxing. All of our accessories are blown apart now. This is our powder coating pile. We're still dressing up some hardware. This is all the hardware that goes on the accessories. Yeah, what a nightmare, huh? Some of it still needs to be blasted and painted and whatnot, but yeah. And never mind the polished compressor. I hate that. We're gonna hit it with some steel wool and dumb it down a little bit, which I don't know why they sent me a polished one. I didn't pay for it. So water pump got shot. Came out pretty good. It's actually just semi-bolted on. You can see my refrigerant lines and hot water lines that in this little bracket. I'm sure glad I restored the original one. So I totally forgot that they supply you with a little bulkhead fitting here. That piece right there is going to powder coat as well. I'm going to get the closest green I can to the what is it, medium green metallic is what this car is. So F5 medium green metallic. I'm going to try to get powder coated as close to that as possible. I'll probably take my VIN tag with me just to reference it. But things are moving along slowly, and I wanted to show you. So there's my Radiator evaporator assembly. I got the brackets on, front and back. Let me show you. Oh, I paid $100 for these. These are the headlight door actuators, and I sure hope they work. I have one bad one, so I just went on eBay and bought those guys. Hopefully they still hold air, or vacuum rather. But this is pretty comical. So I pulled the condenser out yesterday thinking I was going to make some headway, but look, hopefully, I don't know if you can see this, but you can kind of see the jog up. So it goes up right here and right on the bottom too. This whole condenser is bent, and so all right, pass it through. The quality inspector was apparently off that day, and then somebody went to the trouble of replacing this little section of fins. I mean, how do you even do that? This guy's a master, whoever did it, but his cruddy spray paint job kind of drew my eyes to it. But yeah, so that I couldn't do that. I was thinking I could probably deal with the bend and the whole condenser, but no, I can't. I paid too much money for this stuff. So I called Radiator yesterday. They were super cool. They said, "Oh, show us a picture," and they literally shot me out a condenser. It's supposed to be here Friday. So, and then I throw this one in the box and send it back. So kudos to Radiator for being stand-up folks. I'm sure quality gets missed here and there with every company, and that's just part of the deal. But I wanted to share that with you guys because that is not like them, and it's not going on my car. So I can deal with a little bit of blemish here and there, but not that. So anyway, I am kind of at a standstill with the air conditioning until I get a condenser, and then I can start making my lines from the evaporator, and of course I have to get that plate powder coated. So it's just car building, you know. There's so many things that can go wrong that'll just jam you up, and that's the reality of it. So some days, I mean, there's a million things to do. I'm not sitting around twiddling my thumbs, obviously, but it's just frustrating, and it is what it is. So anyway, that's the update for today.